Hey Book Dragons, welcome back. It's time for a book review. Here we go. So I recently finished a book that has come with extremely high praise on BookTube, especially from the likes of Alan from the Library of Alexandria and Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. And that is none other than Guards by Terry Pratchett. It's part of the larger Discworld universe, and my history with Discworld is a little bit weird. I was originally encouraged to read Terry Pratchett's Discworld by a good friend of mine in England, and she just thought I would love Terry Pratchett since I love fantasy so much. And so I did what any well-meaning reader would do with a large series. I started with book one. You see the look on my face? That was the dumbest move I could have ever made. The first book in the Discworld series is Color of Magic, and it wasn't bad. I think I would probably appreciate it now more on a reread, but it just wasn't a great experience. And I've been told by countless other people, you don't start with Color of Magic. So this time around, I watched videos, I did my research, where should I start? And it seems like the resounding answer was start with the Night Watch, start with Guards. And so I did, and I am very, very happy I did. I tell you what, guys, so I read on my Kindle, right? And I can't tell you how many highlights I made in this book of things that just made me laugh out loud. It was just, oh my goodness. I was just constantly laughing throughout this book. It was just a perfect fun ride for me, and much fun was had. So we're going to get right to it. I'll tell you a little bit about it. And then we'll talk about the strong points and if there are any weak points. I didn't really find any, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm so happy I read this book, though. So Guards takes place in the Discworld universe. It takes place in the city of Ankh-Morpork, which is a combined city of two different regions, Ankh and Morpork, and and the river Ankh flows through it. And Discworld is, of course, a flat world. For those who used to think that the Earth was flat, well, Discworld is flat, and it rests on the back of 4 elephants, who in turn rest on the back of a giant turtle by the name of a Tuan. And this giant turtle floats through space with Discworld resting on top of the elephants on its back. And there's a whole bunch of different groups and cultures and everything wrapped up in this large disc of Discworld. So it's kind of fun. There's a whole bunch of different series. There's the Wizard series, there's the Death series, there's the Night Watch series. So there's all these different kind of mini series within Discworld. So Guards is the first book in the Night Watch series. The story starts out with Captain Vimes. He's a down on his luck police officer, essentially, who really has no meaning to his job at all, and so he stands his station in an official capacity but doesn't really do much, and so he just wastes away his years getting drunk and staggering throughout the city flaunting his status, whatever little status he has left, because everybody knows him as a drunkard. And recently, the Night's Watch has lost one of their watchmen, and so they've got an open spot, and you've got this kid who has been raised by dwarves. He's a human who has been raised by dwarves. His name is Carrot. Of all things, it's just completely absurd. And that's the thing with Guards. It is an absurdist fantasy. It is meant to be absurd. It is meant to be ridiculous. You just go into it expecting that. So just be prepared for nothing whatsoever to make sense at all. Um, Carrot leaves the dwarves and goes to the city and enlists in the Night's Watch, and everything goes from there. This book is so great because you've got your police officers who essentially don't do anything. You've got a ruler, the patrician, who builds his kingdom on the unrest and violence and lawlessness that ensues in the city, and they kind of have a license to it. They have a quota. You can do this many thefts, and you can do this many armed robberies, and you can do all these different things as long as you don't go over your quota, because it's all orchestrated, and they turn a blind eye to crime as long as you don't go over your crime quota, right? So it's just completely off the wall and weird. And then you've got your secret societies, who meet and do any one of a number of things. The one particular secret society that is focused on is a group that is trying to bring back the monarchy and establish a king on the throne instead of the patrician, who is he's kind of a magistrate, more or less. He's not really a king. They used to have a king, but they don't anymore. So now they're trying to restore the throne and restore the monarchy, and they've got it into their head that the best way to do this is to conjure up a dragon. And I won't go any further than that into spoilers, because I really, really want you to read this book. But it is just a wild ride, and it's a fast read, guys. I read it in just a matter of a few days. It's only 300 some pages, and it just had me laughing out loud constantly at every turn. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of some of the characters that you can expect to see in Guards. And I'm going to get out my notes here because there's a lot of characters in this book. We've already talked about Commander Vimes. He's the head of the Night's Watch. We talked a little bit about Carrot, human raised by dwarves, and he becomes a junior constable or constable in training at the beginning of this book. And the cool thing about Carrot is when he left home, his mother, who is a dwarf, his mother told him that you have to memorize all the laws, and she gave him a book of all the laws of Ankh-Morpork. And so he's on his journey to the city, and in the beginning of his employment in the Night Watch, he has essentially memorized the rules book, and he's memorized all the laws, all the ordinances, and everything like that. And so he just goes around arresting people, with every good intention. He wants to be a good member of the Watch, and yet he doesn't realize that the patrician allows lawlessness to just happen. And there's all these different guilds that are set up on the premise that we can do all these bad things as long as we don't go over our quota. So you've got the thieving guild and things like that. So it's just absolutely hilarious. Carrot's part in the story just makes for a absolutely hilarious romp. It's great. So we've got Carrot. We've got the patrician, of course. We've talked about him. He maintains the order by allowing a certain measure of lawlessness, and everybody looks on the patrician as this ruler who just rules with an iron fist, and nothing gets by him, and they hate living under his rule, or at least certain people do. And so that's why this secret society has been formed. So you've got the secret society, and I forget what they're called right now, but it's some ludicrous title, some long ludicrous title for the secret society. And they've got all these different like official things that they have to do before the meetings can come to order. The guy who is heading up the secret society at the first meeting, we don't know who he is until very close to the end of the book. But he asks all these weird questions like, have you done this? Have you done this? Are we all prepared? Did you remember to do this? So are the wheels of torment duly spun? You know, whatever that means. Have the axles of the universal lemon been oiled? Just this weird off-the-wall stuff. It's absolutely hilarious. And you've got these other guys in the secret society who are kind of dense. They don't really know a whole lot about what's going on, and they ask all these weird, stupid questions. And they fight amongst themselves about who was supposed to oil the lemon, and it's just absolutely so much fun. That again was some of the funniest parts. And then you got an older rich lady named Lady Ramkin, and she raises swamp dragons and cares for them. And these aren't like big dragons, right? They're just little miniature dragons who can't do much. They can't really fly. They don't do much of anything. They barely breathe fire. And so she raises them, and she gets wrapped up in the whole hullabaloo with trying to track down the secret society and find out what's going on, because all of a sudden this dragon appears, and nobody's ever seen a dragon before. They thought it was myth, other than the little swamp dragons, of course. They thought the big, large, terrorizing dragons were myths. And all of a sudden one appears, and they just don't know what to do. And so, Lady Ramkin's like, well, I can tell you what I would do if my little swamp dragons were doing this. But she doesn't really, know what's going on. So it's just wild. And then they have to get on the ball to find out what's going on, and to find out who brought the dragon and where it came from. Because all of a sudden, these people all over the city just start turning up burnt to a crisp, and their ashes are thrown in relief on the wall. And so all of a sudden these people are dead, and they're like, what's causing this, and where did this dragon come from? So it's this big mystery that unfolds, and they have to find out, okay, who did it, who brought the dragon. This story is just hilarious. So I can't recommend this book enough to you guys. It is so full of all the classic fantasy tropes. You've got dragons, you've got magicians, you've got swordplay, you've got the King's Guard, you've got all of these people, and you've got the classic fantasy tropes about how to appease a dragon is to chain a virgin to a rock and let the dragon eat her, and all this fun stuff that they're trying to figure out. Well, is that really how it is? Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard you have to chain a virgin to a rock. It's just this weird off-the-wall stuff, but it is so much fun. So you've got the classic fantasy tropes, you've got lots of action, and so much humor, guys. So much humor. I mean, even if you are not really into British humor, you don't have to be into British humor to appreciate the humor in this book. I'm a huge fan of British humor. I love it, and so I was just roaring with laughter the whole time I was reading this book. So as you can tell, I don't really have much bad to say about Guards, except maybe that it was too short. I don't know. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. I highly recommend you read it. If you are a fan of things like The Princess Bride, if you know the Princess Bride movie, if you've watched it, especially if it's one of your favorite movies, then you are going to love Guards. It is exactly that type of humor. So, highly recommend it, guys. Make sure that you check this book out if you have not already. I fully plan on continuing the Discworld series, starting with the next few books in the Night Watch. So, more to come on those. But let me know what you think in the comments. Have you read Guards? Have you read any of the other Discworld books? What do you think? Were you like me and made the dumb decision to start with Color of Magic? Let's commiserate in the comments together. And this was fantastic, guys. Enjoy. Till next time, make sure you are reading more books. I'll talk to you then.